Hello and welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app. This is official sports betting partner of the NFL. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, sans Cheerson Susel, who's on a much-deserved holiday, joined as always by Cardinal great Frank Sanders, and to my left, Mr. Espo. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight.
I'm not a Cardinal great, but I am grateful that I get to talk some Cardinals. And I think it was pretty obvious for those watching on YouTube that I am not Cheerson Susel.
You are not, just by a little bit.
You're not Johnny. That's Johnny.
Well, that's usually where I get the rip
Johnny.
on.
That's the difference.
Frank, I wish you had texted me saying you were wearing this shirt because you make it look good. I make it look passable.
No.
We allow the audience to see the multifacetedness of this, how well this shirt fits, and so either it shows a range, a variety of our consumers, those who watch and those who will be purchasing here soon.
That is fit, and I am not fit. That is how it works. So, and I gotta say this, Frank, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. It is a true honor to be on the show with you. I grew up watching you play the game, not to make you feel old, but you were one of my favorite cards, so it is an honor and a privilege to be here. And Johnny,
Special guy.
you're one of my favorite internet trolls.
Thank
so
you
it's good
so
to be
much.
here.
Well, I appreciate that. Elon Musk in the chat says, Elon here,
Already.
Espo with cards today since Suns lost yesterday. That is actually not true. I courted Espo weeks ago to come on and fill in for Cheerson today, so...
It's not like the soccer relegation system where I have to move down to
Yeah.
Cardinals
Yeah,
after
no.
the Suns lose. No.
Cardinals have been doing a lot of losing, and we'll get to that. So there's unfortunately that's going around the valley right now. Some unfortunate news broke just before we went live tonight. The great John Madden, legendary coach and video game connoisseur, 85 years old, passed away this morning. Press release by the NFL, probably 10 minutes before we started the show. So we'd be remiss if we didn't set aside some time to discuss it. And Frank, we were talking about it before we hopped on, that how many games do you think John Madden called when you were an Arizona Cardinal?
Well, when I was here, he was, the NFC East was primarily covered by Fox at that time, so he was always there. I would probably say, we were here for so much, but playing Dallas, he was a Dallas favorite. He was definitely a New York and Washington favorite. The Cardinals are probably not one of his favorite teams, but but in that window of time, I'd probably say somewhere between 10 to 15 in my 8 years here with the Arizona Cardinals at that time. Unfortunately, we had so many games that was blocked out, but my heart is a John Madden lover.
Mm-hmm.
Like just growing up watching the game of football, that voice. Now, again, I can go past him and go back to Frank Gifford, Al Michaels, and Howard Cosell. And those are my three top favorite, announcers in Monday Night Football, or football in general, when it came to those voices. But when John Madden hit the scene, and how he talked and explained, and in funny ways he talked about the game, I'm hurt by that, because he's one of those names that you just remember as me growing up. He's one of those guys that impacted my life. You watching me growing up, he's one of those men that impacted my life and made me fall in love with the game of football, watching it with my dad. With a floor model TV, I'm on a mattress and he's on the couch. And
Yeah,
he's like in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm like in the Dallas Cowboys. So it's sad to hear that one of the iconic guys of the NFL has passed away.
well, you were telling me, Espo, before we got on air, it just surprises you how many people just associate him with only the video game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole generation that doesn't remember that he was a Super Bowl winning coach with the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it started. Then he walked away from that and went to the broadcast booth and was one of the great voices, like Frank was saying, there long before the late 80s when his name was put on the video game. But, Madden is now synonymous with football to a generation that learned the game through video games as well. So that impact that he had is at so many levels when it comes to football. And on Christmas Day, there was even a documentary on Fox about his life and his legacy that I recommend you go watch if you don't know John Madden's full story. But Frank, you were talking about it before we came on air, like the Madden football game for what is it, 4 generations now of college kids we spent far too much time playing that game rather than studying for what we were supposed to do or having a social life. I remember, the waiting for the new edition to drop, buying it and staying up all night in the dorms, just playing that and having tournaments and just having a blast with that game in and of itself. So many people have learned football, whether it was, hearing him broadcast or then through the game. His impact will never be forgotten in football.
Absolutely. Sean Marks quickly, super chat, $4.99. Thank you, Sean, friend of the program. Word on the street, Johnny's going to shave his head just so we can win. Not quite. We'll get to the Cardinals here in a second. And speaking of the Cardinals quickly, as it relates to John Madden. So Madden called the Jerry Maguire game. The Cardinals played the Cowboys in that fateful film. But he also, John Madden's last game, I believe, that he ever broadcasted was Super Bowl 43 between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals. You can go back, and it's that Sunday night crew before Chris Collinsworth took over. And all I remember, I was a junior in college, and you hear, and you hear Madden's voice after Larry Fitzgerald scores that touchdown. Are they really going to pull this off with a little over 2 minutes left? Because I even think John Madden at that point did not, with all due respect to him, probably didn't take the Cardinals seriously like most of America. Thought the Steelers would roll in that game, and then lo and behold, Larry Fitzgerald put on a show in the second half, and they almost did. But to me, that outside of the video game, Madden 04, I think, had Vic on the cover. That was my favorite growing up. But that Super Bowl 43, his voice was phenomenal.
Like he stormed. Back to you in college. So many guys failed classes. I missed so many classes. Not only because we had those tournaments.
Yeah.
I think one of the greatest things that I do remember about John Madden is that, like, in college, you used to desire to go to be on the Bob Hope special as an All-American.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just couldn't wait to be on the Bob Hope special as an All-American. There was two things you couldn't, one, I'd say was great, and the other was turned out to be a curse. You couldn't wait to be on the All-Madden team once you got into the NFL. And I was fortunate to make it on the 1998 team, an All-Madden team. They would send you this big box, and it'd have a shirt and a jersey, and it'd have a sweater and some other memorabilia and a game that would, you made the All-Madden team. But the other part was, of course, you said Michael Vick was to make the cover of the Madden. Yeah. And I think that was something where, socially, iconically, a lot of guys grew in the game of football. That just added more flavor to it. Of course, fantasy football came along. Then you could also create your players. EA Sports did a great job of allowing you and I to be able to build our players, and then kind of create our own team. And that be just, it grew into such a phenomenon on how far one man's name can go, and just such a beautiful, memory for me, man. There's so many things that, watching how many guys I met, friends you meet, guys you end up, just joining together because of the EA Sports and John Madden. And just, again, that just was a special moment.
Hold on. I love Frank tried to act like we're on his level. Guys like you and me can make ourselves. They put you in the game. You didn't have to do anything.
What was that like the first time?
Do you remember that?
Great. It was crazy. I was like most of the guys now. I was like, I'm an 89. Like, no, bro. Like, I'm better than that. Yeah. But I think that was. It's great, man. I still literally have all of my years here in NFL and Madden video games in storage. Just because it's just one of those things where, it's pretty special, dude. Like, I don't like I said it the other day. I said, sometimes when you're in your career, you never get a chance to watch or really watch your career. Mm-hmm. You're just in it. Like tomorrow, you guys do another show. You watch this, you blur it, you go on. But it's just how it is in sports. You got a game, you play the game, and then it's like you just kind of move on. And I think sometimes those are the things I do have the ability to go back and play it. But it's cool, man. It's you kind of humble yourself on that. The guys now, they took it because you can get money and all that stuff, other stuff that comes along with it with social media posting and stuff. But remember Tecmo Bowl, Sega Genesis, watching Tecmo Bowl and Sega Genesis and watching how the game built up. And then you find yourself, because those are the people that you're playing with. Yeah. And then you find yourself in that mode. You try to be humble, not playing with yourself, but I scored at least 60 touchdowns a season without a problem.
It feels like it went from Tecmo Bowl to NFL Blitz on Nintendo 64, and then really Madden took the baton from there. If I'm missing something, keep me honest.
No,
here.
I mean Madden was in that same range too as when Blitz was, but that was a different kind. But it went next level when you got into the PS2, PS3 when those graphics really started looking realistic and the playbooks became vast.
Yeah,
that's when it went next level for sure. So.
Great.
Well, R.I.P. Big John Madden. You definitely will be missed. That was some disappointing news. But hopefully you guys are able, as Elon says, can he unlock Frank in the game? I don't think so, but you can create Frank right after the show is over. So go create Frank Sanders.
And make him a 99. Don't give him any of that 89 bullshit.
Cardinals could use some Frank Sanders right now offensively because they're in a little bit of a rut. I don't know if you guys know this or not. They're on a 3-game losing streak. However, we haven't had a chance to talk about it since Saturday after the game. Espo, you and I haven't had a chance to have dialogue either. Cardinals are in the playoffs, for better or worse. Yay, Yahoo! With a record of 10-5, they are in the postseason, even though they've lost 3 straight. So that's the good news, right? The bad news is, assuming that the LA Rams win out against what could be 2 backup quarterbacks against Baltimore and now San Francisco, Cardinals are going to be hitting the road first week of the playoffs as a wild card team. So, Espo, I'll pose it to you first. How should Cardinal fans feel about this postseason berth?
Well, look, I am a big proponent of going back and looking at what your expectations were at the beginning of the year, right? Like this happened with the Suns last year. You know, people forget where you started because of what happens. If I had told you you'd have 10 wins at this point, you'd have a playoff spot locked at this point back in August, everybody would have been like, well, sounds like everything's great, right? This is exactly that next step that you want to take. What happens is when you start 7-0, you play as well as they did, you get expectations. Those expectations increase tenfold. So with that start, all of a sudden, everything becomes best team in the NFL. J.J. Watt's quote about being better, the thoughts of Super Bowl, and they go on a 3-game slide, and it's like, well, the sky's falling, right? The sky's not falling, but I understand the disappointment in the 3-game skid, but you should celebrate the fact that they made it to the playoffs.
Wow.
First time since 2015. And Frank, you can probably talk to this. I mean, half the battle is just getting in, right? And then anything can happen once you're in the postseason. You can ask the 2008 team that you referenced about the Super Bowl, Johnny. They got their asses handed to them in New England. They did not play well down the stretch. They were called the worst team to ever make the playoffs, right? And then they go to the Super Bowl. Frank, you were part of a team that gets in on a field goal in the last game of the year. You go to Dallas and you stick it to the vaunted Cowboys. It was just about getting in, right?
It was just about getting in. We had 6 games to play. We needed to win 4 out of the last 6, and we found a way. We found a formula in us as a team, and something happened that was magical. Something the Cardinals hadn't done in 50 years, which was another magical moment. And I think I agree with you 100%. Going back to the first part, expectations. There would be no K2 tattoo because my expectations was 100% low. And the reason why is because I didn't think that I was hoping that it would change. I hope it would get better. And the first 7 weeks, yes, it was amazing. 30 points plus, dominating on defense. Number 1 in the NFC, number 1 in the NFL for first 10 weeks of the season. And guess what? I did not expect a 10-5 season. Of course, right now we're 10-5, but in my mind, I didn't expect that, JV. I didn't. But that to me is, I agree with you. As getting in is where you need to be. And now this is the part where major coaching and leadership becomes a major factor in your locker room and in your organization.
I'm going to disagree with both of you guys. I am going to agree with Cardinals update in the chat. Expectations change. Standard is the standard now. Remember that?
I do remember. 100%.
Standard is the standard. We shouldn't be just making it. We have a roster that should contend. I will say the roster is a little bit diminished. You're missing some key guys, but
all season.
I just can't feel good about a team that started 7-0. I think at one point was 10-2, the number 1 seed, and now I do agree with you that you never think you're going to be up again. What's that quote from? I can't remember what it's from. When you're up, maybe it's from Blow with Johnny Depp. When you're up, it's never as good as it seems, and when you're down, you never feel like you're going to be up again. That's what it feels like right now in the midst of this 3-game losing streak.
Anytime you can compare your football team to cocaine, it's always a great.
The great Ray Liotta said that in that movie. It's always stuck with me, and so yeah. And I would have signed up for a playoff spot, whatever it looked like before the season. I didn't even want to put a win to whatever it took to get a seed in the postseason. I would have signed up for that and been content with that. But man, why does it have to go down this way? I was on the show with Shane yesterday on an audio podcast, and he asked me point blank, like, would you rather basically have what the Colts are doing now or what the Cardinals are doing? And I'm like, well, the Colts are trending upward. Now Carson Wentz is on the COVID list, but that's what you want, right? You want a trajectory of winning and success, kind of like the 2013 team that almost got into the playoffs. You don't want to lose or lose out.
Look, and I'm not saying you should be okay with just making the playoffs. I'm saying you should be happy that you're there for the first time since 2015, but you should expect that they play better.
Yeah.
Because if you don't play better, you're going to be one and done, and that isn't okay. That isn't acceptable. It's about celebrating the accomplishment, even though you backed into it, and going, all right, we're in the playoffs. But guess what? There's 2 more games in the regular season. You got to go out there, find the magic you had at the beginning of the season, and take care of business because you still got a shot at a division title. It's not going to be easy. You're going to need help, but that's what you should expect for them to do. But that does not mean that you shouldn't enjoy the fact that you're going to see postseason football for the first time in 6 years.
I know. It's frustrating because Sunday is not the way it was supposed to go down. They had 3 opportunities to win a game so we could celebrate it, and then they had to have a bunch of help on Sunday. They would have gotten it anyway, but...
Look, if they beat the Lions, right, and it's sandwiched in between the 2 losses, it's probably a different perspective because that loss to the Lions is a gut punch because it felt like same old Cardinals, right?
Like they didn't care.
We all defaulted back to years of being Cardinals fans and went, same old Cardinals. But if they beat Detroit and they're sitting at 11 wins and they have tough losses on either side of it, right? You go, all right, a couple tough losses, but it's not that big a deal. The linchpin is that Detroit game that makes everybody feel as bad as they are right now about this.
I agree. You go back 4 weeks and we all thought to ourselves, we gave ourselves wins when it came to the Lions. And a little tussle versus the Colts. A possible, if we show up, we could beat the Rams on a primetime television with a moment. And this is the time to seize this moment and seize the NFC West. Well, we did none of those things. Absolutely none of those things. And now we need a little help. But I guess at the end of the day, the goal is to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. The magic can come back. You don't know what will trickle it. We have no idea what will be said. J.J. Watt potentially is coming back, a stone-cold-faced leader of this team who needs a voice. And this is the part where we talk about the standard. Well, I asked him what was the message. Somebody was saying something in that locker room that was changing everything. Maybe no one was in that locker room saying anything, and then now we can get that back. So I agree. Once you get in, you just want to get in. How you get in, of course, you want it to be beautiful. But at the end of the day, you could make it beautiful, and it could be something pretty special.
You can. Elon Musk in the chat. Will Andy Lee be back to hold the ball for Prater in Dallas? If he's activated, now remember, he tested positive, and just like Rodney Hudson, and Rodney Hudson missed 2 weeks. Not saying that's the standard, but that could be a little bit of an issue. The Cardinals do have 100% vaccination on their team. You would love to have him back. I think they got it situated for Prater after that initial hold from Colt McCoy with the laces kind of turned. I don't want to make excuses for Prater. I mean, he just didn't kick well. That was just not a good game.
I agree. Look, I say we practice receivers. We practice wet balls. We practice balls that sometimes are very cold. We don't practice everything to be perfect scenarios.
Yeah.
And so as a kicker, you should be practicing sometimes that laces are towards you. Laces are faced the other way. You practice these things so just in case in game time situations these things happen, even if you have a change up in the guys that are holding the kick. And so that is something that I don't give excuses to because you should practice these things. you practice every scenario so that when it happens in the game, you're supposed to be able to overcome that. And if we want to use that as something, then I guess we could, but I choose not to because I know for a fact that they have to practice that in practice. So the coach is going to say, guess what? It might not be perfect, son. What are you going to do? It's not going to be perfect conditions. The wind's coming out of the left, you typically hook the ball. But wind's coming out of the right, or it's a knockdown wind. What are you going to do? Those are the things that I find when you have when it's your time to do your job, you're supposed to do it. And that's basically because you should have practiced it either any kind of way. And I said that before. I don't give them passes on that. Mistakes happen. We're not perfect. I agree with that. But I don't use that as an excuse. I don't.
I had a question in regards to that I was wondering on Sunday. Do they have a backup holder? Like every other position, there's a backup, right? Is there a backup holder, and do you practice with that guy holding? Like to me, that would seem like a logical thing to do.
No,
right?
you don't. Only because typically the backup holder is your quarterback. Is your backup quarterback. It's typically that guy, unless you need a special guy on the roster that just holds punts for. Or holds field goals for what $375,000.
I would love that job.
I want that job. Give me that job.
That's right.
But I know it's typically the quarterbacks, and they go in succession of who's the quarterback. And if your second string quarterback is not able to do it or cannot do it, then you might revert back to the first string quarterback because you just don't think he's gonna get his hand kicked. But it's not really, it's not really something that you really go outside and try to find a second place holder.
Because it feels like it's such a mental thing with kickers. It's all about rhythm, right? So you change this one thing, they get in their head after the first miss, and then all of a sudden the whole rhythm's thrown off.
You just
snowball
that entire game.
Wasn't good for him. Week before that, he was our DraftKings Sportsbook King of the Game. Unfortunately, he just did not show up this week, and it's not a moment where he has to go check himself because this is why they bring you in here. Yeah. This is why you were brought here. And we talked about that earlier, how he was a godsend in the first 7 weeks.
He was due for a game like that.
There we go.
And they did not play well in all three phases. Prater had a bad game. I didn't think the defense took advantage of the depleted offensive line for Indianapolis, and I didn't think the offense put enough points. I mean, they scored 2 touchdowns. That's not good enough. Low-Tone Capone asks, do the Cardinals have any bulletin board material to inspire them? I would say maybe just turn on the TV and just let ESPN and Fox Sports run for about an hour. That should do it.
Do you even need to do that? Just put the 3 box scores from the last 3 games, pin those to the board, and use that as inspiration. Like, Frank, did bulletin board stuff actually? Fans seem to think that that's the
it does
fuel.
Matter. It does matter. Yeah, it does matter, man. It does matter because once it hit the news, you have to answer that question. Yeah. So if I'm talking trash about you and I'm saying, there ain't nowhere in the world Espo's going to cover me and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to murder him with this move here. I'm going to give him this. I'm going to give him that.
The murder.
And then they're going to send that notation to you back. You're going to get that report back. And they'll say, hey, Frank Sanders said this. And then once that hits, you have to start answering the call of certain things. The Cardinals need to answer the bell. They need to answer every national media and even at home media that is saying, man, what happened to you guys? We thought you were going to be this team. You're not that team, but you are who we thought you were.
That's right.
As a slap in the face back to you.
Everybody's feeling gratified now.
And that's the part where they have to answer that question now and find a way to make that the bulletin board material and say, you know what? I had a chance to be the NFL Coach of the Year. I stunk it up.
I blew it.
I had a chance to be the MVP quarterback of the MVP of the league, and I stunk it up.
Haven't played well enough.
And I guess what? I'm going to the Pro Bowl, and I'm stinking as a quarterback. How is that possible? And now he has to ask himself, I have to play like I'm a Pro Bowl quarterback. I have to go out and do these things, and I have to answer these questions. So LTC, yeah, man, every time you hear some bulletin board, it matters. And these guys are probably trying to answer it. I mean, you see their response sometimes on Twitter to comments made about them. But when you're on primetime television, that camera's on you, you have to show up to play. And if you don't, you're just going to get exposed as being the dude that we thought you was.
Brigade Travel, multiple messages. His whole rhythm's being thrown off because Espo is here.
Yeah, I'm like the backup holder. Apparently, I've thrown off Bird Gang Travel just like Prater was.
The good news for us, though, is Espo, historically, you've been very hot with your Crowder Cash Club.
Yes.
Which is a fun club that I'm not privy to on the Sun Show, where they put money doing. How do you do that?
So, on DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet on the guy that's going to hit the first field goal in the game. That's the first shot, not the 3-point kick.
Yes.
I know we're in different worlds here. So first field goal there. So I just kind of noticed that Jay Crowder was getting it a lot for the Sun, so I started putting my money where my mouth was.
Nice.
I won like $5,000 off of subsequent bets. I actually won twice on James Conner scoring first touchdown for the Cardinals.
There you go.
Too. So it's not just basketball that I can get on a heater with.
See, I've been trying to sneak my way into some Sun shows, trying to throw a little cash down, but
you realize the app doesn't lock you out from doing it, right?
I want to be part of the mojo, though.
You're the host of our bet show. You're supposed to know how to make bets.
I know how to do it, of course, but I want to be part of the club, and Shane doesn't let me. So this is the official sports betting partner of the NFL, that being the DraftKings Sportsbook app. As my man Espo said, you'll be a winner once again. In this specific scenario, once a single point scored, new customers who bet $1 on any team to score win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use that promo code PHNX. If you used it once already, I've had people ask me, you can't double dip. Not yet, anyway. Bet $1 on any NFL team to win that $100 in free bets. 21 or over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEPS. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions, they do apply. See DraftKingsSportsbook.com for more details. All right, gentlemen. Well, I was thinking about it today, and I'm going to swallow my pride here, and I'm going to say the Cardinals don't win the division. I'm going to say they're going to travel on the road in the first round of the playoffs, and who knows, right? A lot of people are saying that might be best for them given their struggles at home. I don't know if I agree or disagree with that. All I know is my travel now in the first round of the playoffs goes from down the street in Glendale to one of several places. So, Leah, we've got a phenomenal graphic. We're going to play a little game called Pick Your Playoff Poison, and it could get a little deadly here. So I've got the 4 presumed division winners on the screen. 3 out of the 4 teams on the screen have already clinched the division. Of course, the 4th being the LA Rams could do that with wins in each of the next 2 games. Again, Baltimore, no Lamar Jackson. San Francisco, no Jimmy Garoppolo. So, Frank Sanders, what kind of poison you drinking first round of the playoffs for the Cardinals?
Initially, I like your graphic because it really highlights the matchups that
all
make
deadly.
the difference.
Look at those deadly.
I mean, but it highlights the matchup that makes a difference. Kliff versus Bruce Arians. Then you got the quarterbacks in there, and then you start asking, can Kyler? Will he handle that very well? Sean McVay's in there, and does Kliff handles that coaching well? And to me, I wanted to say the Dallas Cowboys. I wanted to pick them
notice
first.
There's no Mike McCarthy in that.
But I wanted to pick them because I thought Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn. But watching this team, Dak Prescott is a leader.
He is.
And they play to the drum of his beat. And the defense is dominating right now, but they play to the drum of his beat. They got 2 running backs that are pounding the ball, catching the ball in the backfield, and they look good. I do not want to face them. I actually want to face our in-conference nemesis, which is the Rams. And the only reason why, because I think Matthew Stafford will shit the bed when it comes to playoff moments because he doesn't have many wins in the playoffs. They brought him there with that large money. They gave him the reins. Sean McVay will probably put him in the best babysitting position that he could. He'll give him a nipple and let him suck on just on some fake runs,
like
some play action
good.
passes, some dump offs to the tight end. And look, that offense looks good. But I'd rather see Matthew Stafford be the one who we place because I don't think he will be the guy to answer the call in that window of time. Tom Brady,
makes sense.
Dak Prescott,
pick the worst quarterback.
I mean, no, not the worst because he's in the top 15 in all time.
I think Dak's better than
and I agree,
Matthew
but that's
Stafford.
why I say leadership wise and quality wise, I think that Matthew will probably poop it in the playoffs.
Frank, I don't watch the game film. Is nipple a formation that Sean McVay runs?
Yes,
in
it
LA?
is. Yes, it is definitely a formation. Because look, before they gave him the full bottle and he was just standing in the shotgun. And then they say, you know what? Put him under the center and give him some nipple. Yeah, give him a little nipple to suck on a little bit. Get underneath the center, play action, roll out. Don't let him have complete
3
control.
interceptions against the Vikings this past weekend.
Thank you. That's
nipple was not on my bingo card of things that are going to come up tonight on the
Look,
show.
Welcome to the Cardinal show, my
Sometimes you got to
man.
baby a quarterback. That's
good.
what it's about, babe.
All right.
Sometimes you got to baby
Johnny.
a quarterback.
Poison.
Two things. I got to say first, ye of little faith. I think the Cardinals are going 2-0 and the Rams are going 1-1.
I love you, my man. That is I think that ship has sailed, my man.
I figured somebody needed to bring the positivity and be the naive guy that's here for the first time.
That's true.
So I'll do that. And second, I love that you assume we're sending you wherever they're going on the playoffs.
Oh no, Saul called me.
did
He told me
Okay.
I was going. He said,
fine.
"Pack your shit. You're going to Tampa." That's what he told me on the phone today. He said if he actually told me if I'm going to Tampa, he's coming with me. I don't know what else he had to do. So
good to know. Good to know that Saul's just wasting our budget. For me, I think I'm right there with you, Frank. I think it's the Rams and the quarterback position, obviously a big part in that, but also the familiarity with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the third time you see them. You know kind of what to expect, which I think helps Kliff, especially in the situation of going into the playoffs for the first time. You're not, I know that they've played the Packers this year. They will have played the Cowboys as well, but this is a Rams team that Kliff and Kyler have played numerous occasions, and I think there's something about just a comfort level going into the playoffs for the first time, especially with them on this kind of slide, and the pressure won't be as much on them because if they wind up having to travel, because at that point everybody's kind of put the expectations aside, right?
Yeah.
And then it's about them believing in themselves and going in there and surprising a team. And I think the Rams are the group that they can actually do it. Plus, not a huge amount of travel. Tampa's a long distance. So is Green Bay. LA, 45-minute flight, and you're right to business. Yeah.
Saul, that rat bastard's in the chat right now. Johnny was going until he replaced me with Espo. Scorned. Well, we're doing what we can here.
Congratulations, you got an upgrade.
Oh,
so,
wow. How about it? I'm going to surprise you both. First of all, I think just from a bird's eye view here, I don't think any team is going to be an easy out in the playoffs. I wouldn't want to play San Francisco just because it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. I don't think any of their matchups, should they have been at State Farm Stadium, would have been a layup win. No. This is such a different kind of parity-driven year for the NFL. Even a team like you, if Philadelphia wins out, they're going to get the 7th seed. That team would scare the hell out of me. They're not supposed to be there, playing loose, nothing to lose. You're not going to get a Washington football team or a bad Saints team in the first round this year. So with that being said, I'm going to actually go kind of off the beaten path here. I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay for a couple reasons. I think that they are primed to be beaten. I think that team has been beat up. They have a lot of injuries. Yes, the Brady factor, but I do think the Cardinals are best equipped to take on quarterbacks that are statuesque in the pocket. And I know we're talking about the greatest of all time, but the Cardinals struggle with mobile quarterbacks. I think clearly Dak's going to give them problems this weekend. Aaron Rodgers, Stafford, that would probably be my second choice. But right now, wouldn't it be something like you're turning on the TV? If they play Tampa, is anybody guess like they're getting that garbage Saturday morning slot?
You think?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
There's a lot of. I mean, it's former coach against former franchise. There's all sorts of.
Tampa.
Did they force him out?
Cardinals, Buccaneers, Cardinals. They will be that ESPN trash game on Saturday morning. I will be there. Saturday night and Sunday night will be Packers, Cowboys. Rams will get a primetime game. They will put Tom Brady and the Cardinals at like noon on Saturday.
I will bet you lunch that if it's
100%.
If it's those two teams, it's a Saturday night game.
I'll make that bet with you right
now.
Yeah, because Green Bay will be likely the one with the bye.
Hang on.
Yeah,
so
no, you shook.
I will. That's fine. But what's the AFC? What garbage team are we getting in the AFC? That's a big caveat.
There's a lot of garbage teams.
Yeah,
in the
see,
AFC,
if the Titan. Okay, now the Titans are probably gonna be hosting that game as division winners. They're gonna Titans hosting like the LA Raiders.
Johnny's now thinking and going, I may have just screwed up.
I might have messed up. Johnny, there's a lot of people.
Don't forget, there's a Monday night game in this.
Can I just say,
too.
of all the NFC slots, they're gonna get the worst slot. I feel like if they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Don't forget there's a Monday night slot, so there's 3 primetime this year. So there's there's a chance that that they make there. Look, I want nothing to do with Tom Brady in the playoffs. Not a
I
damn
feel like that
thing
would
with
be
Tom Brady.
the biggest upset, the biggest point spread, and they can go into that game playing 100% loose. Tom Brady's lost first-round playoff matchups before. He lost to Ryan Tannehill a couple years ago. Once upon a time to Joe Flacco at home. Is. It's
No.
all right.
It's Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady.
It's the playoffs.
Yep.
And Bruce Arians is a better tactician when it comes to being a head coach than Kliff Kingsbury. I am not putting myself in that situation. There are two teams I'd want anything to do with. The Rams are 1A, and depending on what goes on this weekend, the Cowboys are 1B. And the Cowboys find a way to screw themselves in the playoffs every freaking year,
McCarthy
and I don't
factor.
think that's going to change this year. So those are the two teams I look at, and Sunday will determine who's the number one for me. If the Cardinals go in there and they surprise everybody, it's the Cowboys are going to move into that spot for me. But I just there's nothing I want. I don't want Green Bay and the weather or anything to do with that. I don't want anything to do with Tom Brady.
It's kind of ironic if the Cardinals beat the Cowboys this weekend. I think it's Dallas's 4th or 5th loss, and would presumably knock them into that 4th spot if Tampa and the LA Rams win out. So I think the Cardinals kind of control their own destiny in the sense that if they win out, they're going to probably be playing Dallas in the first round. So interesting. Well, I'm glad we're all not on the same page here, but we are on the same page in one area, and that's our phenomenal gear. So I've got a shirt that means a lot to me because it represents the first half of the Cardinals season, and hopefully the playoff purse that they're going to have.
Did you know that we have a new version of that?
Don't
do it. Maybe we just fucking backed into the playoffs. That's the new one. No.
I like that one. I'll get that one.
So the fine-looking gentlemen to my left and to my right have the gorgeous bird on the ball that you can get right now. PHNX Cardinals or PHNX merchandise locker with Cardinal gear.
PHNXlocker.com.
Locker.com. As I butcher this read, because fact is, folks, if you didn't get what you wanted this holiday season, don't worry. The PHNX Locker, there it is, still has all the great sports merch just for you. Spoil yourself, treat yourself. It's really not spoiling yourself because we have all these phenomenal deals that we run on our website. Go PHNX.com. Head to the locker, PHNXlocker.com. Pick up any sticker pack for just $5. I need to get some for the front of my laptop here. And any t-shirt for $29.99, and you'll be the envy of all of your friends, or better yet, just sign up $59.88 for the year. A year membership, you get a t-shirt for free. So you can enjoy articles from myself, my many talented peers, everything and anything on gophnx.com, and you get a free shirt in the process. So
did you see Elon?
What did you say?
Can you replace the bird with a mini Kyler Murray? It'll say actual size next to it.
We're trying to get him in studio.
I'm an ass, all right? Let's just make that clear. For those of you that are uninitiated with me, I can be a real ass sometimes.
You're our ass.
That's true.
That's
Yes.
great.
I am PHNX's ass, all right?
So
Take that as you will.
You come from a good spot.
So if Espo's our ass, then that means the face of at least this program is Kirsten Susel, who is not here right now. She is on holiday, but she sent us this lovely photo. She is actually in Pottersville. Pottsville.
Let's not give Pottersville the 1925 championship. That doesn't fix anything.
Pottsville, Pennsylvania. If you have not checked out our podcast, our story with regard to this presumed curse that the Cardinals have claimed the 1925 NFL championship that belongs to Pottsville, go check that out. She's there today taking photos, trying to, I don't know, talk some
reverse
sense
the curse
into the curse into the town.
She had a meeting with the mayor. She has offered. We said, "Look, we will give you Frank Sanders, and you can have him if you let the curse go."
You can't do cold. You can't do cold weather.
I really can't. But I mean, if you reverse the curse and you can get your tattoo, I'd love to see that.
Oh, that's true.
I go to Pottsville for about 6 months.
Well, all right, perfect.
I rock it
In
for
the
6
in the
months for
summer.
you.
Release you Frank Sanders for 6 months.
But it has, 6
Johnny,
months, that's it.
I almost brought the hair clippers too, so we could reverse that curse too. Shave your head.
No one. That was never a deal at any point. No one agreed to that.
I heard it on yesterday's show with Shane.
Yeah, I guess there's people in the comments who are trying to will that into existence. I guess.
I badly wanted to have a giant 1925 Pottsville Maroons championship banner printed and make you and Kirsten sneak it into Dallas Stadium and unfurl it during the game.
Here's what the Cardinals should do if they had any kind of pride. Just give it to us, the big fraudulent banner you have in your Tempe facility.
Not at all.
So we can have it on display here and no one can see it at your facility because it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you guys. Come on, Michael B. Not very good. All right. Well, I hope Kirsten has safe travels back to the Valley and she'll be on with us on Thursday. Much needed time off. Okay, it's time for our last segment, folks. Our winners and losers. We do it every week. There's a phenomenal trophy and some poop. And now it's time to break it all down.
Which is for which, though? Which is the...
If you're asking, my son would definitely take a poop emoji over a trophy. All right, I'll start with you, Mr. Frank Sanders. Let's go with your loser of the week.
My loser is, unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals. And this is the only, not because we lost, but because every time the last couple of quarterbacks we placed in Jared Goff as well as Wentz, they get on COVID after they play us.
Yes.
Like, that sucks. Like, why can't you get it a little earlier than after you play us? Like, and I hate to say it, but I just feel like as soon as they leave us or once we play them, they get sick. And it feels like that was a little, I don't want anybody to get sick, so I'm not saying that, but it just, as a football fan and wanting your team to win, the best opportunity possibly to have won those games, either one would not show up or two. These guys unfortunately got sick. So just 2 back-to-back times when the quarterback got sick and after we played them.
Does that make our defensive line the winners because they didn't get close enough to these quarterbacks to contract anything?
Great one. No.
Only Buda Baker.
I didn't think that far, but yes.
COVID because he was the only one giving a shit.
I said defensive line. So.
Yeah, I thought that was like, yes, great one.
That is very well said.
Well said.
4 starters out on the offensive line and nobody in the front 7 gets any kind of quarterback pressure. That is garbage.
Loser.
Everybody needs replaced on that defensive line. We'll talk about that this offseason, but that's a good loser.
I take it, man.
What you got for me?
My loser, it is one Kanye West. You guys hear about this?
No.
Kanye bought a house right across from his ex, Kim Kardashian, literally across the street. Like, I'm sorry, but get over it at some point,
maybe
right?
He's trying to be closer to his kids.
So buy a house a few blocks away. Like, if I'm buying the house right across the street, that's saying I have not given up on this, even though I've been told numerous times. Like, if I saw my ex with Pete Davidson, I'd go, that's a surefire sign this is over. Because she obviously does not have good taste anymore. No. I think that's a big loser. That's a big L if you're doing that.
Kanye, it's time to move on. I agree with that. Absolutely. So, like, kind of in the same realm as Kanye West. So did you see what Matt Rule had to say after they yet another loss for the Carolina Panthers this weekend? So they were asking Coach Matt Rule, who 2 years removed from being the Baylor head coach with Carolina, second consecutive under 500 season, if he's frustrated. And his response was, quote, "As I tell our team all the time, it took Jay-Z like 7 years to make it." So, Matt Rule, I'm sorry, do you think you have 7 years to get this right in Carolina?
The longest runway in NFL coaching history.
And it's just like, I love me some Jay-Z, but that came out of left field. You cannot use my man Jay-Z as a crutch for your suckiness of your team. But good news is Sam Darnold is well on his way to returning, so you can be the embarrassment once again in the NFL. It's funny, we rip on Kliff and the struggles that they're having right now, but goodness, Matt Rule is the dumpster fire coach that I feel like no one talks about.
Hold on, is he a dumpster fire, or is management a dumpster fire for giving him Sam Darnold and thinking, hey, let's sign Cam Newton to $10 million to bring him off the street because that'll save
the innovation, though, is not there. I feel like he was supposed to be even more than Kliff, like what he was doing at Baylor. Like, you remember that Baylor?
Yeah,
they were supposed to be like top. They're not top 10 in anything: points, yards, touchdowns, anything.
The sad part about it is that I keep saying that some of the coaches that they hire are not qualified for what it takes to be an NFL coach. And I say that respectfully, saying that you're great in college because your 5 stars are probably playing against 4 and 3 stars, and You're probably playing 1 or 2 games out of the year that really makes you coach and have to go out and play versus 5-on-5, where it's evenly matched. The NFL, every week, it's 9 to 10 guys that are 5 stars, and the head coach or the defense coordinator should know how to put their guys in the best position that attacks your weaknesses. Matt Rule's weaknesses are being exposed. And without a Christian McCaffrey, seems like it's not the same. And you have to have the ability to innovate your offense, be innovative in your offense to know how to, you don't have to get the ball to everybody, but you have to attack other teams' weaknesses in multiple ways by changing the formation up. And unfortunately, we as the Cardinals fans have watched that. That has kind of been a little, we have not seen it last couple of weeks. Maybe missing D Hops that much shows you how much emphasis Kliff has put on him. Matt Rule, not having a healthy Christian McCaffrey has affected the offense. Thought he had a Sam Darnold that was solid, but it's 17 weeks. Teams start to find out what you're trying to do to them. And if you miss what we're trying to do to you, then you're going to get your butt whipped. And unfortunately, he's in that position right now, just like the Cardinals right now.
You got a winner for me?
My winner, chicken dinner, is the Miami Dolphins. And what they've been able to do the last 7 games. Mm-hmm. I know it's just some conversation piece, 1-7 on the first start. They flipped it, found some magic. Now they're 7-0 on the backside, and they have a potential chance going into the playoffs. Look,
yeah, they're the 7th seed right now.
A franchise that has been absolutely nothing since Dan Marino, and that's the sad part. Quarterback after quarterback, running game, new coach, head coach, just like UM. I don't know if it's the salt in the water or it's the beauties on the beach, but something about playing in Miami, just these guys don't know how to get it done. But something they're doing right now, great. They're doing something good. So my winner is the Miami Dolphins, and just what they've been able to produce. It's not easy to win in the NFL. It's not easy to find the formula of winning in the NFL because it changes week to week. And they found something. And Tua's healthy, which is, a lot of conversation pieces that went bad against him. And now he's finally able to produce, and it's looking pretty good.
It is. Beauties in the Beach, my favorite Disney movie. Yes.
Beauties in the Beach.
Is that on Disney Plus?
It's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus.
Let me tell you, XX Plus.
Turn those sideways. Yeah.
Those are one of those that was all pixelated, going into the triple digits as a kid. Yeah.
Oh, what is that? Yeah. No, I love that the Dolphins saved them. I love that the Dolphins were saved from themselves because they badly wanted Deshaun Watson when they had their answer. And Tua right
for
there.
This season, he's a Teddy Bridgewater with a pea shooter arm.
All right.
They're winning with defense.
All right,
and
Johnny.
special teams. Go ahead, give me your winner.
He'll take them W's. I know that.
By the way, I don't think I understood the assignment because you guys are very much sticking to football, and I'm all over the map.
Make it happen.
Leah told me, go wild.
No, you're supposed to go.
Okay,
wild.
all right. Yeah. So my winner is Miss Fritz. Can we Can we show this video, Leah? She told them if she hits this shot, they all get to have hot chocolate after recess, right?
What kind of handles does she have?
Watch this. So she drills out that. They all go nuts, right?
Yeah.
What the internet didn't know, this went viral last week,
okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. And Miss Fitz became a big deal. This class is like, hey, look, we're so excited. What they did not tell us, is that they had a ringer in their midst, right? Miss Fitz, 2 years or 3 years removed from being a member of the Rutgers basketball team. She played for Rutgers.
Oh, man.
So we're all thinking, oh my gosh, this a third grade teacher just going all Steph Curry on us.
Yeah.
She had the pedigree. Like she was supposed to hit that. So she's a winner on numerous fronts for both going viral and having none of us know that she actually was a Rutgers player. Her alma mater ratted her out and posted that picture on Twitter. So she's the winner this week. I thought that was fun.
That is great. Cardinals Update pointing out she held the hand up like she knew it was going in. She did. Yeah, if you rewatch it. I did not know that. I had seen that video on my timeline. I just assumed that was like somebody's like third grade teacher or just like she's like, oh, I'll just pick up the basketball and shoot it. But yeah, I could not make that shot for the life of me.
I don't know. I mean, you look at me. If there's chocolate on the line, I might be.
Oh man, yes. Jose John Man has passed away. We discussed it at the top of the show, and he is. All of us are my winner for having been able to enjoy Madden's broadcasting, his coaching, of course, his video games and what they've meant to each one of us and in our lives. Just very, very sad. 85 years old. Again, the last game he ever called, Super Bowl 43, Pittsburgh Steelers, Arizona Cardinals. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you both on. It's been fun.
Same here, man.
Hanging out, letting me do this in place of Cheerson.
Thank you for letting me come in here and make a lot of dumb jokes.
No, I love
it's
it.
always fun.
The people love it. All right, well, if you haven't done this already, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Do us a favor. Go ahead and leave a 5-star review. It really helps us out. We'll be back tomorrow. I think Cheerson and I are doing a live show pending her travel. Somebody's going to be on with me. Maybe I'll pull Espo over to me unless Saul gets pissed at me again. For Frank Sanders.
That's why you should do it.
That's true. Frank Sanders, Espo, Johnny Venerable. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.